For all your real estate, financing, and investing questions, call the show's off-air number and speak with Mike Gray directly. 530-431-8586. That's 530-431-8586. Now, the Golden State Report with Mike, Amy, and Dave.
Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to the Golden State Report, heard every weekend on AM 1380. I'm Mike Gray with Morris Williams Realty, along with David Stone from the Stone Consulting Group.
Great to be here.
And Amy DeBus from American Pacific Mortgage.
Likewise. Good to be here, guys.
You know, on our last show, we talked briefly about, not briefly, we spent a segment talking about the litigation and all the different news stories out there about how realtors, got sued.
Yeah.
And we did. National Association of Realtors.
You did.
Well,
I didn't get sued.
I didn't either.
I'm a member of California Association of Realtors, and I'm a member of the National Association of Realtors. And there was some litigation in the Midwest against the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and against a lot of the major real estate companies. Morris Williams, the company that I have work for here in California, is a fairly small company. So we were not named in that lawsuit.
Who was named? Keller Williams?
Keller Williams, Redfin, and Coldwell Banker. And they're good. Those are good companies, but they're going after the
big
boys.
fish.
The deep pockets.
And the lawsuit was settled in favor of the people suing. Mm-hmm. The defendants were the realtors, and that has now been settled. And the judge has accepted the settlement, which will make these litigations go away. But it's going to change how real estate agents really work. Now, it's not going to change a thing for the realtors who are out there who did a really good job of communicating.
Yeah.
Okay. When I work for a seller, I represent the seller. When I work for a buyer, I represent the buyer. When I show buyers homes, they say, well, how do you get paid? I get paid from the proceeds of the sale. All right. So that means that the seller's really paying for me, but I'm representing you during this transaction. Are you okay with that? And all the buyers have been fine. We had a discussion about it. There was communication involved.
Yeah.
The lawsuit really resulted from sellers saying, I never knew that I was paying the buyer's agent commission.
And buyers saying that I never knew that the seller was paying my realtor's commission. So is the realtor really working for me, or are they working for the seller?
Which is the fair question. Unless you trust your realtor and the realtor's had that communication with you and that conversation with you, that'd be a fair thought, be honest. And the jury ruled in favor of the people saying, yeah, that communication is pretty poor, and people were being deceived.
So what are they doing to improve the communication, Mike?
So basically, right now, when I show...
It's a nice way of putting it. How are we going to improve the communication?
Well, it's not going to improve my communication. I'm going to do the same thing I've always been doing. Because
it sounds like there might be some required
because you're crystal clear. Now you're just going to have a legal document that you have to have them sign.
Correct. And now sellers are going to know that they have an option. They've always had an option. We're going to charge you 5%. I'm going to give 2.5% to the buyer's agent, so we have as many people look at your house as we possibly can. Mm-hmm. And most sellers are okay with that. Now, so there'll be some sellers out there who say, I don't want to pay the buyer's agent anymore, and that only works in a seller's market. We talked about that in the previous radio show. But two things are going to change. Now we can no longer advertise what a selling seller and a seller brokerage are going to offer as compensation to a buyer's agent and a buyer's brokerage. We have to make a phone call. Okay, so now we'll call.
But don't you always call the listing agent when you're helping your buyer buy a house?
I know I don't ask what the commission is because it's posted in the metropolitan.
But you always make a phone call. And
I'm always talking before we write an offer. I'm talking to the listing agent, seeing if they have any other offers, some things the sellers are looking for.
Oh, by the way, how much is the seller paying?
Nope, and now I'll ask that question.
Right.
Okay. But before I didn't have to because it was posted in the MLS.
Right.
Now that's going to be illegal. They can no longer post cooperating commissions in the MLS.
Which I think that's not a big deal.
It's just one more question I will ask the listing agent before we write an offer.
Right. So that changed. And then what's the other big thing that changed?
This is probably the bigger change is that before I can show a buyer a house, we have to sign a buyer representation agreement where we agree upon the fact how I am being paid.
So can you say, well, first of all, you may have several buyer broker agreements.
Yeah, you can do it for an individual house. You can do it for a zip code. You can do it for a community.
Sure.
So you can be as narrow and specific as you wish, or you can kind of broaden it so you don't have to do one for every single house you walk through.
So how are you going to handle this, Mike?
I'll have the same conversation with the buyers. So let's say that, David, you want to buy a house.
Okay.
And before I can show you that house, you have to understand that I'm representing you in this house. Okay,
Sounds good. I
And
want
there-
you to do that.
And there are different ways I can be paid.
How can you be paid? What
I
are the
can
ways?
be paid from the seller's commission, from the seller paying the buyer's broker, or you can pay me.
Okay. So, and how much do I need to pay you?
Well, it just depends upon. I charge 2.5%. So
Okay.
if you're buying a $500,000 house, it's going to cost you $12,500.
So if the seller is not going to pay you, then I'll have to pay you. Is that
Correct.
what you're saying? Okay.
Correct. And if you say, and there'll be some buyers who will say, "Oh, I can't afford to do that."
Right.
Well, then we can only look at houses where
Yeah.
the seller's paying the commission.
Okay.
And it's just like, well, I want to buy that house. Well, David, you're approved for $500,000. That house is $650,000. We can't buy that house.
Ah.
So there'll be another criteria which may eliminate houses that you may be able to look at.
Okay.
Now, what you're going to say, well, I'm going to hire a realtor that will do it for $2,500. You have that, all right? And I wish you only the best. That realtor will not be me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and because I think my skill set and my value that I bring to the table is worth this. You may disagree, and you have that right to disagree, and I will respect that. Mm-hmm. But I just won't be your realtor.
Well,
then.
and,
Yeah.
okay, but also this opens up a fourth area of negotiations. We have three now. We always have three, right?
Correct.
First, we negotiate the price. Second, we negotiate if the repair request comes in and we need repairs. Third, if the appraisal comes in low, that's another room of negotiations. So now we have a fourth area of negotiations, right?
Correct. I mean, we can negotiate how the buyer's agent is going to get paid in the offer.
So let's say, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Let's say you have a buyer that can't afford to pay you in a house that a seller is saying they won't pay a buyer's agent. You could always make an offer and negotiate that into the offer.
Correct. There's a line right in the residential purchase agreement for the state of California where that can happen.
Oh, that's
Perfect.
perfect. That's there.
Anyway,
We've already got it ready.
Nothing has really changed.
It's going to really improve. Well, it is. It's going to improve the communication from agents who are doing a poor job.
That's right.
Anyway, if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Number is 530-431-8586, 530-431-8586. Thank you so much for giving us part of your weekend as you have tuned into our show. Hope that you have a great week, and perhaps you'll listen again next week.
Me and you, and I think to myself, I like the dark, and I think to myself,